Alright guys, so when we left off last time we had just finished drawing our face and completing all the different parts of the face. We were able to take it into Character Animator and see that the mouth worked, the eyes worked, and etc. and we can move it around. So what we want to do now, we want to actually draw out the rest of our puppet's body. And before we get started too much on drawing that out, I want to make sure that we do one thing. We want to come over here to our layers, and I've already done it here, but make sure you come down here. This is the Create New Layer button, and create a new layer, and then name it plus, the plus sign, character. And we want to just make sure that we do all of these things inside of this character layer here. And then I'm going to take my head layer that I had here, and I'm actually going to drag it so that it goes right on top of the character one here, and it kind of makes that section gray, and drop it on there so that it actually goes in, and now my head is a sub layer of my character. Okay, you'll see when we drop down, I also already have made a body layer, and this is where I want to make sure everything else kind of fits into. So like when I go in my head, I see all the parts of my head here. I want to make sure then that I do the same thing for the body. So again, to do that, you can have the character selected, create new layer. It'll maybe create a new one, a new like separate layer, but then if it does, you can drag that back on to the character layer and have this body layer here. So just before we get started too far with that, make sure that you have those layers situated as well. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and start drawing this out. I may kind of draw things and then pause and finish them so that this video doesn't take too long. The next thing that I want to do, I want to create a neck for my character. So I'm going to use my ellipse tool, and I'm basically going to just kind of make something that kind of looks like that. Just a little neck. So that'll be good. I'm going to come over here. Let me make sure to name that. Name it neck. And then I'm going to come back over, and I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to create his body at this point. So something like, I don't know, something like that. It'll be good. I'm also going to give this a color. I'm going to make it red. And that looks pretty good. I'm maybe just going to move this up a little bit. And the thing I think I want to do, I'm going to name this, oops, not that one. I'm going to name this body, but I'm going to switch these layers because I want my neck actually to kind of be on top here, so it kind of looks like he's wearing a shirt or something. That'll be good. All right, let's do the next part here. I think for the next part, I want to draw out my arms. But I think I'm going to use, instead of just using a rectangle for it, I'm actually going to use the pen, because what I want to make sure is that when we move the arms, that we've got a little bit of the arms kind of built in to this area right here, so that as they move, there's not like these gaps that form there. So again, the pen tool is a little bit, when the first time you use it, it's kind of difficult, or it doesn't work maybe the way you would think it would work. So I'm going to just kind of make sure that I go right onto the edge of his shirt there. I'm going to click on the corner, and now I'm going to kind of just click down here and kind of just give him kind of an A-frame shape. And again, I'm just clicking to draw in these shapes to create the look that I want. So I'm going to come back to there. Then I'm going to kind of come across here and then back up to the top, and then it puts it in place there. So I kind of have this like extra little part, especially right there. That is kind of what I'm looking for. Let me name this left arm. Remember that we are it's a little bit backwards from what we think as we're looking at it, because it's not necessarily it's like a mirror image. Okay, I also then just drop the left arm down behind there so that it this part shows up behind the body. Now what I want to do actually, I want this to be exactly the same. So I'm gonna click on that. I'm gonna use my selection tool to click on the arm. I'm gonna hit Alt and I'm gonna just drag over a new copy of it. All right. Let me go ahead and rename this right away. So this is gonna be right arm. And I'm gonna actually come up here and I'm going to go up to Object and I'm gonna hit Transform and I'm gonna hit Reflect. And by hitting Reflect, I'm gonna reflect it vertical. It's going to switch it around and I can then basically just come in and line it up right there. Maybe just down just a little bit. And I now have my two arms that are identical, and so that works out well. This next one, you guys are gonna laugh, but I'm just gonna kind of do it quick. I'm gonna draw some hands. Again, I'm gonna use the pen tool. These hands are not gonna be great. You guys could probably do much better with some hands here. They're gonna be more like claws than anything, but that's okay. So let's do this, and back here. Whoa! All right, I'm gonna pause it and I'll get some hands drawn. Okay, so I paused the video. I kind of redrew my hand, and there it is. There's my hand. Looks exactly like what my hand does in real life. I then did the eyedropper and I clicked on the face to make it so that the hand was the same color as the face. All right. So let's go down here. Let's name this. This is going to be our left hand. And we're going to make a copy of it. Again, clicking on it, hitting Alt on our keyboard, dragging it over, come up to Object, hit Transform, and hit Reflect, Vertical, hit OK. So again, it's going to line up perfectly here. And just make sure we kind of match that up right on there. And there we go. So now we got that on there. So let's make sure then that we rename that one. So this is right hand. Okay. Let's next add some legs onto this guy. So again, I'm going to take the pen tool. I'm just going to draw out some legs. Something like that will work. All right, and let's name this legs. The one thing I can do too, if I'm kind of off, I can kind of move some of these points around and kind of stretch them out if I didn't quite get them lined up and matched up very well. I'm going to change his pants. Maybe I'm going to give him some, let's see, I think he should have some gray pants. Okay. All right. Now the last thing I want to do is just add some feet onto him as well. So I can do just some pretty simple things. Maybe I'm just going to take a rectangle and he's just going to have some block feet like that. And these are going to be his shoes. No one's going to confuse him for having the coolest shoes ever, but this is going to be his right foot. And let's just copy that. We can drag that over. And this will be his left foot. All right, there we go. So now we've got our character. He has a body to him now as well. So that's really kind of the main part, at least, of drawing it out. So now let's go into actually how we would use this guy as a puppet in Character Animator. So now I'm going to come in here to Character Animator. When I come into Character Animator, I see that I've got Puppet 3 loaded up here and also in my scene. And when we move though, it kind of like moves all around, and we don't necessarily want him to be floating all around here like this. So let's go ahead and click back up here on our puppet where it says puppet and puppet 3. I'm going to go ahead and click on his body here on the side so that it selects this area. And what I want to do, I want to come down and I want to take this pen tool and I'm going to click on his feet. And what that does basically, it like kind of adds a fixed point, a pin right into his feet so that when I come back to my scene, his feet don't move and kind of float around. He kind of just stays in place. Okay, that's what we want to happen. Okay, so now we can't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily work where we can move his arms. When I wave, his arms don't follow. The only thing that's happening is it's tracking my face, and if I set the rest pose, it should follow along with my face pretty well and my eyes and such, but the hands don't necessarily work. So to fix that again, with the body still selected, this time I'm going to come over here to the dragger tool, which looks kind of like a 4 arrows around the circle, and I'm going to put a dragger point on each of his hands. All right. Now let's just take a quick look at what happens when we do that. So when I do that, I can move his hand around and I can wave, but his arm is very kind of like jello. So one thing we can do as well is we can add these, which are just called the stick tool. We can kind of add in some sticks, which would kind of be like his bones, which makes it so that that's the points that he can bend. So he won't be able to bend then in those points. Now it actually works like an arm where we have an elbow. See how the points where the sticks were, they don't bend at all. Right? So there we go. So now I've got this guy who can wave and he can do all these things. Okay, so there you go. There's your puppet. We'll talk about some more advanced things a little bit later, but for the most part, you've got a puppet with a body that can wave and that will follow your mouth, your voice, and talk, blink. So there you go. Great job, guys. We'll talk about how to record and do some more things over here with these later, but you guys have done a great job of building this puppet.